This video explains the product rule in differentiation. We use the product rule when there are a multiplication of expressions within the expression that we want to differentiate. And the rule is that if our expression y is made up of u times v, then our derivative dy dx is equal to u dv dx plus v du dx. This is in our log tables on page 25. So here's an example. Y is given to us as 3x squared plus 2x times x cubed minus 2x plus 1, and we want to find dy dx. So of course the first thing is that I need to recognise that it's product rule. And that's not difficult to do because I've got two sets of brackets here that are clearly multiplying together. So these two brackets are a product, and I'm going to call the first one u and the second one v, and then I'll differentiate and fill into my formula. The best thing to do is to actually write down u is equal to, so in this case u is equal to 3x squared plus 2x, and also make a clear note of what v is equal to. So in this case, v is equal to x cubed minus 2x plus 1. And now I want to differentiate each of these. Now notice that when I've got an expression called y and the variables are x's, that I differentiate and get dy dx. Here I've got an expression called u with variables of x, so I'll differentiate and call the derivative du dx. To get du dx, I just differentiate like I normally would. So 3x squared is going to become 6x, and plus 2x is going to become plus 2. I'll repeat this procedure for v to get dv dx. So dv dx is just going to be 3x squared minus 2. These four items are the components of the formula. So I've got u, dv dx, v, and du dx. And I find that it can be helpful to stick in two arrows that connect these terms to make it clear where they go in the formula. So for example, u will go with dv dx, and v will go with du dx. And now I'm ready to make dy dx. So putting a bracket around each portion as I fill it in, I'm going to have 3x squared plus 2x times 3x squared minus 2 plus x cubed minus 2x plus 1 times 6x plus 2. If the question has just asked me to differentiate, then I've achieved that goal at this stage. I only need to tidy up or simplify if the question requires me to. Just make sure to read the question carefully to figure out whether or not you need to proceed with expansion. Here's a second example. It's less obviously product rule possibly because there aren't any brackets. But if I look closely, I can see that 3x is being multiplied by root x. And so if I've got multiplication like this, then it must be product rule. Again, I'll identify my u and my v, and I'll write them down clearly. Note that I can't really differentiate root x as it stands. I need to first of all rewrite it using indices. So the square root of x can be rewritten as x to the power of a half. Now I can proceed to differentiate to get du dx and dv dx. So in this case, du dx is going to be equal to 3. And dv dx will give me a half x to the power of minus a half. Now, at this stage, dv dx, I'm not overly keen on how it looks. I'm going to view this as an opportunity to practice my indices. How can I convert this back into a root again? Well, the half doesn't have any power being applied to it, so I'll just leave it out in front there as it is. And I'll think about this x to the power of minus a half. Well, I know that a negative power means that I need to move my term into the denominator if it's currently in the numerator. So I'm going to say 1 over, and of course x to the power of a half then is the root of x. So I'm going to write that as 1 over root x. And I can tidy up even a little bit more and write it as 1 over 2 root x. Again, I'll just stick in my arrows to remind myself what goes with what. And I'll refer back to my log tables as well for clarity there. There's my formula again. dy dx equals u dv dx plus v du dx. So I'll fill that in. It's going to be 3x by 1 over 2 root x plus root x multiplied by 3. And again, I'm not strictly required to go any further unless the question asks me to, but there isn't an awful lot to do in this case. So it's just as easy to multiply it out. And in that case, my answer would be 3x over 2 root x plus 3 root x.